Wow. Okay, fresh from her Art Directors Guild win, we have Nightmare Alley's production designer, Tamara Deverell. Tamara, congratulations on your ADG win and the Oscar nomination. Nightmare Alley is such an incredible film. Two worlds, the carnival, the Art Deco world. Talk about the conversations you had with Guillermo del Toro and building the world of the carnival.
You know, it's funny, people ask how I talk with Guillermo, and I'm like, what did we say? Like, did we say specifically we're going to do a theme with circles? And you know, we do. It's not that we don't talk, but what I tend to say is we look at things together. We look at research, we look at paintings, we look at anything we can find, old films, that kind of thing. And then we'll have a brief conversation, but our words are limited. Guillermo likes to write backstories for all the characters, and characters are very important to me. So that happens, and you know, he'll catch things out like pigeon blood red, which is a particular lacquer used in Japan and in China in antiquity times, and that's the red I want. And I'm like, okay, you know. So it's a lot of research, a lot of looking together.
The banners that we see in the movie, especially in the carnival moments, like talk about bringing those into the film and the research that you had to do.
Yeah, well, I actually had a couple of books on carnival banners. There's a few out there, and immersed myself in a lot of research and came across Fred Johnson, who's like the Picasso of the banner world. And we actually bought a couple of his pieces from the 1940s, which was a little later than our period, but had them in the art department, which was awesome. And we saw how the corners were leather gusseted and the thickness of the canvas. And then in particular, there was one fellow I've worked with before on Star Trek, of all things, and he just, Andy Sang, if he's around, amazing guy, and he really got the hang of it. It took him about 2 weeks, and he drew them all digitally based on our research, but we, of course, had to put our characters in them, so we had to put the Major Mosquito, we had to put Bruno, we had to put Electra, all of our characters, without making them look too much like the actual actors, because we didn't want them to be too perfect. So Andy really developed, other people in the art department also did them. And then what we did was we printed them digitally and then full size, and then gave them to the paint department, an awesome team of craftspeople and artists who painted over them. So they really, and then aged them and then painted over them again on umpteen times, and then we had a pandemic and shut down, and some of them stayed up and blew around and aged more, and we got torn, and then we patched them. So it was really a process. Like everything we did in the carnival was like aging, building. Yeah.
And then in contrast, you have the Art Deco world, and I'm thinking of Lilith's office, which is incredible. Mm-hmm. Talk about designing that and the wood paneling there.
For Lilith, so there was Grindles, the wealthy factory owner, and we had a location in mind. Before Guillermo and I even talked, we had the R.C. Harris water filtration plant as his factory, which is this historic Art Deco building in Toronto. And we had shot there actually on Mimic, which I worked on years ago, which has nothing to do with Lilith. But I wanted to separate the Art Deco look of Grindles, of the factory, and the cold, more streamlined marble floors and polished surfaces, and do something different for Lilith. So I went on a deep dive, and a not so deep dive. I went into looking at wood environments, the use of wood and lacquered wood in the Art Deco realm, and remembered this, in Brooklyn, in the Brooklyn Museum, there's a little study called the Wild Wargate study, and I went there. I've been there many times and salivated, pressed up against the glass. And so I showed it to Guillermo, I showed pictures, and I went there again, and my brother lives a block away, so I'm always going to the Brooklyn Museum, which is a wonderful place, and presented that to him, and did some other research on wood in Art Deco. I was particularly, it wasn't purposeful that we did those Rorschachian kind of wood veneers. It just came out that way, and we were like, we did a few tests, and I was like, okay, that's it for this psychiatrist's office, these hidden symbols and meanings, and so we played around with that. And then again, like pure craftsmanship in terms of the carpentry in that. It was a very complicated set to build. And everything had to be like, smooth and choreographed. And, I was also like, big fan of Cate Blanchett's, to be honest. And I just could see, I wanted to feel her walking through that room. And we started very small with it, and it just grew and grew, and everything in Nightmare Alley became an alley, and we extended it. And at first I was like, oh, this is getting like, it's like a train car, it's so long and narrow. But then I saw what Guillermo and Dan Lauschton, our DP, were looking at, this kind of movement of camera movement and actor movement. It became like a dance between the two characters in there.
Were there Easter eggs in this movie?
Yeah.
Tell us about those.
Oh my God. One personal Easter egg was from Mimic, the movie I art directed, and we had done a Jesus Saves neon cross in Mimic. It was a big stunt piece. And Guillermo turned to me one day on Nightmare Alley, he said, let's do that cross in the Salvation Army, that same cross, which actually exists in some small not even the center of town in Toronto that he saw when he was on Mimic 1,000 years ago. So that was one Easter egg. Other Easter eggs, there's a direct, it's not even an Easter egg, it's an homage to Hitchcock in the entrance to the carnival. That sort of at the 11th hour, Guillermo was watching Strangers on a Train. I don't know if any of you film buffs have seen that, but, and we had kind of a banner entrance to the carnival. It didn't have much light on it, and Guillermo watched Strangers on the Train and said, let's do this neon riff on Hitchcock. And really, it wasn't even a riff. He just wanted me to copy it exactly. So we went through great pains. We changed the neon at the top, and building with neon at the last minute. I mean, Guillermo doesn't do this often. He's very careful and plans with us, but every once in a while, there's something he sees, and he just really wants it. So we did it, and we ordered extra neon, because every time, I think Bradley Cooper once leaned on it in one of the scenes and broke these neon strips. Anyways, that's not an Easter egg. It's an obvious homage, but also an Easter egg. I can't think of any others. I know there's others, but
that's perfect. We're all going to go back and watch Nightmare Alley and look for that little homage now, right?
You'll find other ones.
Okay, stay put. And next up, we have a clip from Encanto, and I'll see you back for the panel conversation.
Okay, thank you.